In honor of Valentine's Day, which is my favorite holiday, I wanted to create a series of artworks that were themed around the color schemes and imagery and shapes and graphics of February. So for this one, I decided to do a neurographic mixed media heart artwork. So the first step I'm doing with my fine liner is drawing in a variety of sized hearts on my mixed media paper. Just kind of filling it up as much or as little as I feel is right. Now I'm using random lines a la neurographic art to break up the negative space between my hearts. So everything is going to be sitting behind the hearts as far as where my lines go and where I ink in. So I'm not necessarily following strongly the tenets of neurographic art creation. It's more inspired by neurographic art. Any lines anywhere seems fit to fill up the negative space as much as I like. And then neurographic art has you round off any pointed edges. This gets a little interesting when you're doing hearts with the neurographic lines because I've got the points at the bottom of each heart. But I found a way to get around that, which I'll talk about as we get a little further into the video. So I'm just using my fine liner to round off the corners anywhere there's a round edge and then filling that in with solid black ink. Now, if you're going to try something like this, I do recommend using a fine liner so that you can get really detailed lines, really fine lines. It will take a little bit longer to fill in your sections where you're rounding off your corners and pointy shapes, pointy line bits, and filling that in with the dark ink, but it'll be worth it in the long run to have a little bit more control over where the ink goes down. So here's an example where I had the point of one of my hearts. So I tried to incorporate lines near the points of the hearts or where the indent was happening at the top of the heart so that I could then round out and have that point sit in a black section where other lines were getting smoothed out and rounded out. So I did find myself adding more lines near hearts so that I could have those larger black areas. And it worked out great. It helped to make the heart shape pop off the neurographic background, as well as make it feel less extreme to have those points in there anywhere that my heart was kind of deviating from the idea of neurographic art. And then I knew I wanted to play with colored pencil for the background, and I wanted to stick with Valentine's themed colors. So I grabbed a variety of my pinks up to my dark reds, and then I grabbed some different values of violet as well. And then what I did was I began with my lightest pink first, and I wanted to shade the neurographic white sections as almost as if they were three-dimensional stones, sort of. So there was like a roundness to them, and it gave a little variation rather than having them all be solid and it's the same value. So around the edges of each white section in the background, I added dark, and then I would just to kind of start mapping in my darkest dark, and then I lightly dusted the colored pencil across the rest of the white area. And then I went back and forth blending between the lightest color, the lightest value in the color section, fading it out to the darkest and fading the dark into the light so that I had some really nice light pops in each one. So each one is only one color of colored pencil, but I made sure to evenly put in each value as I began filling up all of the negative space around my hearts. So the lightest pink went in around and kind of an even mix, and then I followed and went back in with my next darkest pink and then my next darkest pink as I worked into my red violets and my violet colors. And then once I had the bulk of my thing filled, then it was a matter of figuring out how to fill in the rest of the white negative organic shapes, the organic shapes, with colors that made sense, because I knew I didn't want to have any areas where I had the same color next to the same color. And it worked out great. I didn't have to be very methodical about this or calculated. I just had to be observant so that I could look at what was happening around the remaining white organic shapes and pick a color to go in there that wasn't directly around it. So at the end, it was a lot of jumping back and forth, trying to find the right color for the right section so that I had a nice even play of colors and no two organic sections have the same color next to each other. I love how this turned out. I absolutely adore it. I am so excited I did this. I did feel like the hearts got a little lost, so I went for a Sharpie to go around them so that they could pop more. I do love that they pop off the back, but I do wish that I had gone for something a little thinner than a fine tip Sharpie, because I do feel like it was a little extreme, especially in the smaller hearts. I sort of had to battle to maintain the heart shape. And then I felt like I needed a little something more in the hearts because they were so flat compared to the shading that I had done on the neurographic background. So I decided to get a very pale violet and do just a little bit of a color line that faded out to the left on the right side of each heart, just to give them a little, alluding to dimension and just a little something extra. I'm not sure that I really needed this, but I do like how it looked. Give it a try. Let me know what you think. Till next time.